Hey everyone, this is Blackhawk SC, and welcome back to my channel. In this video, I'll be taking a look at the Griffin-5M, which came out with the loyalty rewards last year. It also recently came out for C-Bill, so for those who already have it, want to sell it but can't, maybe this will give you something new to try. If you don't already have it, it'll help you decide whether it's a worthy purchase or not. Before we even begin with the builds, I just want to say how gorgeous this mech looks. Even if the mech was completely garbage, I probably would still keep it in my mech bay to look at the pattern. The entire 2017 Loyalty mech lineup came with a beautiful East Asian motif, which I'm sure many veteran pilots will agree is much better to look at than what we saw in 2015 and 2016. With the 5M, PGI introduced the first Griffin with ballistic hardpoints, giving us something different to play with in contrast with the existing missile and energy variants. This would have been more important pre-skill tree, where you would have to buy 3 variants of each chassis to master them. You could have bought the 2 good Griffins and a ballistic Griffin for the 3rd, for some variety to play with. After the skill tree, the 5M competes not only with other Griffins, but other IS 50 to 55 tonners as well. When you look at it from this perspective, the ballistic hardpoints are no longer special, since you have the Shadowhawk 2H and Hunchback 4G with 3 ballistic hardpoints. That's 1 less than a 5M, but they're placed at a much better location. The only realistic way to use 4 ballistic hardpoints and 55 tonner is to go with MGs. But the best way to use MGs is in a brawler build, which the Griffin 2N and 3M are better at. Not only do the 2 other Griffins carry 4 SRMs, but they have 2 very effective shield arms to absorb damage. And the 3M even has a complete dead side. This is why I would not recommend close range builds in the 5M. I'll also roll out running energy or energy missile combo builds because of the 1N, 1S, and Sparky. Although an MRM ER medium build isn't going to be the worst thing you can do. Given the environment in which the 5M lives, I think a ballistic focus build is the 5M's best option. There's just too much competition with missile and missile energy to make it worthwhile to run on the 5M. And the 5M has a ballistic cooldown, which is going to help a little bit. I don't complain about PGI too often, but sometimes I wish they think things through more thoroughly. They had the opportunity to make the 5M more interesting with some light gauze specific quirks. The 5M comes stock with one, and the light gauze by itself is pretty shitty. If they gave it like a 20% light gauze cooldown plus 10% ballistic and added skills, this would be worth carrying in my opinion for the fun of it. But as it is right now, avoid the light gauze except for in very specific scenarios. For ballistics, we have a few options. I would like to run the UAC-5 and AC-5 on it, but the useless hand actuator takes up a slot that would have made it possible. Dual AC-5s and lasers is an option too, but seems weak in terms of DPS. A UAC-10 and PPC or laser build has to deal with most of your firepower going away once the UAC jams. UAC-5 and dual PPCs is too hot, and UAC-5 and dual large lasers is okay, but we can do that on like 10 other chassis. Gauze needs some supplemental weapons like 4 or more ERMLs or 2 to 3 large lasers to be effective, and we don't have enough hardpoints for EML, and not enough tonnage for large lasers without going to an XL engine. So by the process of elimination, the only thing we can use is the AC2 class of weapons. There are 2 flavors of the UAC-2 build that I've used. This is the version that I've been demoing at the start of the video. It moves like an IS heavy, but has a little bit more burst DPS at mid-range. Since I'm used to piloting assaults, it's not too slow for me, but you do have to have good situational awareness. You need to stay at mid to long range, and when you see enemies move towards your position, you need to get out of there quickly. This build is also prone to running out of AC2 ammo near the end of the match, leaving you with 2 UAC-2s and ERMLs, which isn't great, but not useless either. The second version drops the lasers completely, and allows you to move faster with the appropriate amount of ammo for each weapon. The drawback here is that everything is in that right arm, so you have to protect it at all costs. It also doesn't have the added burst DPS of the lasers, but it also means you gain a shield side. I personally like this a little bit better because the speed allows me to find good angles more easily, and I'm not always at the range where the lasers can be a big help. In either case, you have to think of the build as a way to distract or harass an enemy team at range. This loadout isn't enough to do serious damage without a lot of phase time, and therefore your job mostly is to find the biggest threat you can see, and shake its cockpit until he turns his attention to you. And when he does, make sure to get back to cover since you probably won't be able to trade damage with him. A tip when playing this build is to always be moving slightly when you're firing, which will enhance the effectiveness of your cockpit shaking. He'll have a hard time putting accurate damage onto you when he's got both the moving target and the AC2 bullets hitting his mech. In my skill tree, I get both magazine capacity nodes and focus on cooldown and durability. Then I get full speed tweak, and finally some radar deprivation. Alright, let's get into a match. Alright, in this match we're on Mining Collective. Mining Collective is not as range-friendly as some other maps like Grim Plexus, Frozen City, and Polar Highlands, but there are some positions where you can use your range effectively in the beginning of the match. So like this platform here allows us to see to pretty much where the enemy team has spawned in. They usually kind of walk over the E line and try to get to the other side of the platform. So this pathway here is what we're going to look at. But it looks like a lot of the enemy mechs have already moved out over there, and so there's just this Marauder here, which I think is carrying long-range weapons, as I'll find out later. So like racks and ER large lasers, and even though it's not terribly dangerous, I still don't want to trade with it and just take unnecessary damage. So I'm going to drop down. There's no other mechs here for me to shoot at, so I'd just rather see what I can do over at this side. And I'm trying to do this while my team is engaged over the center platform and try to maybe pull some guys away, you know, just take some shots at mechs who are kind of still straggling over here. So this Stalker is a pretty good target. He didn't like that, so he's moving. Yeah, I'm not really doing too much damage to any of these mechs, like this Mad Dog here as well. Especially when the UX start jamming. But it gets them to move and it gets them to messes up their whatever they're trying to do and distracts them. Similarly here, we're just plinking that Stalker until he moves out. Let's see if we can get behind that Stalker, but there's another mech here, which is a Catapult. He's getting distracted by this light behind him. And there's a LRM event going on, so there's a lot of LRMs right now. And he loses side torso. So I want to get behind him, even though he has Cord CT, but I want to get behind him to see if I can take a shot. And he dies before that happens. So there's a bunch of enemies here, so we have I don't want to be shooting that light all that often, so set that Sun Spider that I'm want to be wailing on. We see that Arctic Wolf coming, so we're gonna get out of the way. We are in a good position for our team to help us because anything that moves on this side will be seen by our team on the center platform. So gonna pull back a little bit, and he's gonna be in big trouble. Arctic Wolves are not very durable, so they're only a 40-tonner. So the best way to play the Arctic Wolf is to try to sneak behind people. Play it like a light and not just frontally attack as he just did. I would have just went around the center platform and try to maybe gank our team from behind. So that's not what he did. So right here, it's a little bit vulnerable because I don't have really a lot of support behind me. So I'm gonna get up this ramp over here, up to the center platform, and see maybe there's something. I know there's something over at like F4, so I don't want to get hit from behind. And here are these mechs that would have hit me from behind if I simply followed my team. So we're in a good position to be supported by our team. Now that I've got target on these two guys, my team's coming back to support. So Enforcer, if you look at his loadout, a small pulse lasers, light gauss rifle. As I mentioned before, light gauss rifle is not very scary by itself, so I can just kind of face tank him. He's not really shooting my arm all that much. Not a terribly dangerous build, so he gets killed. So these are the two last guys before the last guy. The real last guy is actually hiding somewhere, and all we just need to do is to find him and kill him. The score is pretty much what we expected. This build doesn't kill a lot because it spreads damage, but we did our job. Okay guys, I'm interested in hearing about your experiences with the Griffin 5M or what you think of the builds I talked about in this video. I personally think the mech is an okay C-build earner, but it doesn't match what you can do with the other loyalty variants like the Linebacker H or Victor. If you don't have it, I recommend skipping it because the Shadowhawk 2H can do the same build with 3 UAC2s and better hardpoint locations. But if you like Griffins and Ballistics, this might be the right chassis for you. Anyways, if you like this video, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe for more MWO content like this. And I'll see you next time.